Hey guys, it's Breck Bassinger, but you may recognize my voice as Stargirl from CW Stargirl. And as Stargirl, I always listen to Stargirl After Show. It's so much fun getting to listen to all of my different castmates' interviews, hear about DC lore, and of course all the Stargirl history. So make sure you go listen to Stargirl After Show. And yes, I know I just said Stargirl like 50 times, but seriously, go listen to it.
Rocky returns, and this time he's got the eye of the tiger, baby. This movie became the feature film debut for wrestler Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips, as well as the incomparable Mr. T as Rocky's main antagonist, Clubber Lang. Once again written and directed by Sly Stallone, this movie went on to be an even bigger hit than the previous installment, Rocky II. The main theme of the movie, Eye of the Tiger by the band Survivor, went on to become world famous and is tied for having been on the Billboard chart's top 10 list for more weeks than any other song in the entire decade of the 1980s. Both Mr. T and Hulk Hogan went on to achieve meteoric fame following their appearances in this film, with Mr. T starring on TV's The A-Team and Hulk Hogan becoming one of the most iconic WWF wrestlers of all time. Joining us for this episode is friend of the pod, writer, director, and USC alum, Sean Addo. Welcome to the further exploration of the Rocky franchise of films. This is the 1982 Sylvester Stallone boxing classic, Rocky III. This is a show about franchises, underdog movie franchises. You're listening to License to Watch.
Why in the world was this movie made?
Okay. Sean, you good?
Oh, great, man. The Bengals won. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Going to the Super Bowl.
Sick.
Super Bowl.
When was the last time they were in the Super Bowl? Like 30-something years ago or something?
Yeah, 31 years ago, man.
31, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Congrats.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but whenever I think of the word Super Bowl, I always want to say it like Super Bowl.
With like a southern twang?
Yeah. Yep.
I always want to say it's Superb Owl.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
It's a fine owl.
They used that on What We Do in the Shadows. Did you ever see that episode?
No, I have not.
Oh, like they
I
literally
watch that show, but I haven't.
They get invited to a Super Bowl party, and they think that it is a superb owl party because they're vampires. They think that's cool, and they don't know what the Super Bowl is.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're back. We're back on Zoom. We're not in the room together, which is unfortunate because Omicron is still decimating the countryside and the world.
Yeah,
at
that's
large.
what it is. It's not the incident.
The incident.
We agreed not to talk about the incident.
So, Harris, what were our caveats for this show? Half of us are sick.
Yeah. There's going to be some sniffling here. I am getting over a bad cold, which may or may
which
not
half?
be COVID.
Which half of you is sick, left or right? Or is it front? Or is it the front and not the back?
Definitely the front for me. Luckily, the back is not sick yet.
Just the butt, genitals, and legs part of me are sick.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
And Matt, you got allergies. Sean might have a dog barking in the background.
It might be a mariachi band at some point, too, man. I live in Inglewood,
Right.
so you never
Nice.
know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I heard
There
some
could be
heavy
like
traffic background sounds before. I don't know who that was, but we'll deal with that.
A parade of Bengals fans could come storming through any one of our neighborhoods at any moment.
Well, there'll be plenty of dated football references during this episode.
Yes, apologies. By now, the Bengals may have already won the Super Bowl.
I know.
Yes, because as we all know, it is February 28th today.
Yeah.
Just you watch. Like the Bengals are gonna win the Super Bowl, and then Joe Burrow is gonna be like, "Next, I'm gonna be on License to Watch."
Let's just. I want to spend this entire podcast talking about how awesome it was to see the Bengals win the Super Bowl and how much we enjoyed that. Your Super Bowl champion Cincinnati Bengals. It'll be like when the kids in third world countries get the loser like Buffalo Bills Super Bowl champion
hats.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The License to Watch podcast with the alternate universe.
Well, speaking of watching movies, since that's what this podcast is actually about, I watched JFK recently, and like, there's that part where Mr. X is like, the newspaper in New Zealand already said he was murdered, but they couldn't have known that. You know what I'm talking about? JFK fans?
Yeah. JFK heads out there. I saw it so long ago. It was like so long, I remember.
It's so long. It is such a long movie. It's like 8 hours long. It's like a miniseries in movie form.
Really?
I wish it could have been a little longer, a little slower, a little more boring, to be honest with you.
Yeah, now that we talk about it, I feel like adult Matt would have really appreciate JFK.
This is a classic
really,
Colin
really
movie.
good.
It is like way too long and really slow. Yeah. I saw it for the first time recently, like just a couple of years ago, and I was amazed. I was like, wow, this was a very popular movie that like everyone saw and was talking about when it came out, and it's not like it's
really good.
I don't understand. I don't understand the appeal. I really don't.
It also has a lot of like actors doing accents, especially, which I mean, it's right up my alley.
It's also got like wild conspiracy theories that are like totally unproven and unfounded and don't make any sense. And it's like
Back and to the left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before we go any further into JFK or any other movie, we should mention that the movie we're going to be talking about is Rocky 3. And our guest, we have a special guest joining us today. He is another USC alum friend. We seem to only be plucking from our USC friends lately.
They're the best.
They are the best. But he is a writer, a director, a jack of all trades, a cinematographer, right?
I've been known to shoot a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, this is Mr. Sean Addo. Thank you very much for joining us.
Anytime.
What's going on with you? You want to like tell everybody what's up in your world right now?
In my world, yeah, man, I transitioned from shooting to focus more on like writing and directing. So I've just been developing a lot of things on my own. We kind of were able to shoot this crazy short during the pandemic called Rooted. It's like this horror thriller thing that deals with identity and stuff like that, which is really good. But it turned out great. And then so we're just plugging it in, seeing what festivals we can play in. And so we'll see this cycle, how well it does. But other than that, just been doing that and then turning that into a limited series. So I've been pitching that around and everything. And then trying to get my feature going too. So we've been lucky to be in like Ashley Crispin is the producer on it, so we've been in like the Sundance producing lab, which was dope, and then Black House producing lab. So we're just kind of pushing to try to make one of those things jump. But
future guest of this podcast, Ashley Crispin, you should mention.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, put the plug in.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Sounds like you're doing some cool things, unlike me.
Oh, whatever, man. You got this podcast. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're going places.
Straight to the top of Norway's podcast charts. Is it Norway?
They love us in Slovakia. We're huge. We're gonna do our Eastern
random.
European tour.
You know what it is?
Oh, yeah.
We play better amongst people who are not native English speakers for some reason.
Yeah.
Like the less you understand us, the better it is, I think is the lesson there.
That's hilarious.
It's because the cadence sounds like I'm saying something funny, so they assume that it's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
my
it's that
cadence
thing.
sounds smart. And they're like, wow, that guy's talking a lot. He must be making more sense in his native tongue.
Right. Anyways, speaking of that, JFK is totally relevant to Rocky 3 because
Oh my God.
I'm sure we all know about the two clubbers theory. The mohawk goes from back to front in this scene, but in this scene, the mohawk
Back
goes
and
from
to the
front
left.
to back. Yeah.
Back into the left.
His mohawk's looking good in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get into the mohawk, Sean, what is your history with not only this movie, but like the Rocky series as a whole? Have you seen them all? Only seen a few? Like, did you see it as a kid or not until you were an adult or that sort of thing?
I think I've seen them like periodically through my I guess childhood into adulthood or whatever. You know what I mean? So like obviously the first one I saw when I was younger, but then I feel like I watched them out of order. Like I saw 1 and 2, didn't see 3 until recently, then saw I want to say 4 maybe. Like and then they start to like blend together honestly at some point where I'm just like, okay, Rocky is Rocky. But I think 3 I didn't really remember at all until recently, and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot. And then, like, oh no, I thought I had seen it, but I hadn't up until like recently, and I was like, okay, this is a different one with what's his name?
Mr. T?
Yeah, Mr. T. Yeah, so the Mohawk. But yeah, that's kind of been my history of Rocky, honestly. And then the Creed series, but I don't know if you technically count that or not. But you know,
yeah, we're still debating that whether we should count them or not.
I feel like there's purists that are like, no, absolutely not. But it's kind of.
I mean, they do have Rocky in them,
right?
So like,
and they do kind of finish his story in a way.
Yeah.
But I think right now we're settling on probably doing those as bonus movies, so covering them, but also not having them part of our main franchise thing.
And the big question people keep asking us, obviously, is what do you guys say about this? What do you say about what do you do? What is your creed? And we have yet to decide.
I thought he was going somewhere with that.
I was expecting something profound after that.
That joke was a little Rocky.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's just God, we're getting off to some terrible puns here.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was Matt or Colin? We've already talked about our first experiences with the Rocky franchise, but do you have any specific standout memories of this one?
I'm pretty sure I heard the song "Eye of the Tiger" before, like truly experiencing what Eye of the Tiger brings to this film. So there's that. I think.
What do you think came first, the line "Eye of the Tiger" in the movie, or the song "Eye of the Tiger"? And they were like, "Listen, Carl Weathers, you're going to have to say Eye of the Tiger like 30 or 40 times in this movie because it's the theme song. We're trying to really push the soundtrack."
I don't know the answer to that, but I would love to know.
Yeah, it's.
Does anyone know? Is it like chicken or egg?
I think it's like a chicken or egg. Nobody will ever know the answer to that truly. But I kind of think that there's a part of me that doesn't think Survivor is a talented enough band to write a song on demand. I think they just had a song, and then they were like, yeah, sure, we'll just use the line in the movie so many times that it becomes like a point of like, how Apollo's never said Eye of the Tiger before in any of the other movies, and now it's like he can't go 5 seconds without mentioning it.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Not a great song. I don't know if that's a hot take, but like I was listening to it today.
That is a hot take.
I was listening to it today, and there's like it is like really mediocre rock music of this era, like Bad Chicago kind of. Like this would be like the 9th best song on a Chicago album.
Oh,
Harris, I don't think you've ever been more wrong before.
Ooh, fighting words.
That's the hottest take I think I've ever heard in my life. Who doesn't like Eye of the Tiger? You don't get pumped up when you hear that song?
No, it's like
that's a lie.
It's not even as good as the Rocky song. You know what song Sylvester Stallone rejected before he chose Eye of the Tiger?
No, what?
Was it by Madonna?
No, it was the song that ended up being snapped up by the Karate Kid by someone much smarter who was like, "Oh, we'll take You're the Best Around. We need that song." That's a good song. That gets.
I'm trying to remember how it goes.
Around.
Oh yeah.
Nothing's ever going to keep you down.
This isn't necessarily against your point, Harris, but I do feel like Eye of the Tiger is a little bit more celebrated in pop culture than You're the Best Around.
Yeah, I know it's a mistake.
Okay.
Are you telling me that Survivor is more popular than Joe Esposito? Is that what you're implying?
I am. Look, Survivor, they've been through a lot and they're still here.
What's the song?
Because they survived.
What's the one? I am the man who will fight for your honor. You know that song?
Oh yeah, that's
that
just
is
a song.
Chicago, isn't it? Or is that just Peter
yeah?
Cetera?
That is.
No, it's
I'm
like Peter something.
Peter Cetera. He's
from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
It's basically the same thing.
But is that not from a movie?
Mannequin?
Oh,
I think that's from Mannequin.
Oh, Mannequin. Now
Mannequin
that's-
2 on the move.
I think we found our real answer here of like what the best of these songs is, and like Mannequin. What can you say?
I mean,
a
is
franchise.
that the next franchise we're gonna cover?
Oh my
Gotta cover
god.
Mannequin now.
It's a solid twofer right there. Wow, yeah, Rocky 3. For me, this movie in my memory is like, this is when the Rocky series starts becoming more like, it just makes me think of the Street Fighter arcade. Like, I feel like they start making the villains look more like, they have like a distinct, like Mr. T looks awesome in this. He's got a mohawk, he's got cool earrings, like he's like, his whole thing is menacing, And then in the next movie, they've got Ivan Drago, who like also has a cool look and like just looks like a video game character to me. And I think the Street Fighter games like started copying. Like, this plays heavily into Colin's envisionment of like a game where you could choose movie characters who would fight each other. You would skip right over Martin Brody and choose Mr. T or Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, but that's the crazy part about Mr. T, because it's like, it's weird, man. Because I can't imagine Mr. T like outside of this. Like, you know what I mean? Even when he's in the A-Team and everything like that, it's just like Mr. T is Mr. T, like regardless. You know what I mean? So that's why those like one-liners were so good in this movie, when he's just like pain or whatever. You know what I mean? Where
That's the
it's
best part. I love that.
yeah. It's like,
Although
man.
he's mean in this movie, and Mr. T and almost everything else he ever did was like, he had to be the good guy, and he would never like talk mean, like say something to
Right.
Rocky's
True.
wife or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we've got a live correction here. You're right. The Glory of Love by Peter Cetera is from Karate Kid Part 2.
I told you.
Mannequin was the Starship song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now.
Yes.
Also a banger.
That is a banger.
That's a great song.
I'm glad we clarified that. I couldn't let it go.
Real quick story about that song. So, Harris, I'm pretty sure you guys, I'm pretty sure maybe all of you guys have seen my thesis film in the basement about the little girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have seen it.
Originally, when it cuts to the credits at the end, I had that song like play and it was totally out of left field. There's like a scene earlier in the movie where you hear it on like a radio in the background, and it was just like a callback to that, but it was supposed to be like kind of an odd choice. And I remember I like was almost done editing the movie, and I tested it and I like showed it to some class, I forget, and like all of them were like, what the fuck is with that song at the end? And I was
This
like,
is
fuck
for
you
context,
guys.
for our folks at home, Matt's thesis film was like a sci-fi horror movie about a girl who's being kept in the basement, and
Yeah.
it's so basically a Starship song is not the first, wouldn't be the obvious choice.
I still think it should have been in there, and I think people just weren't ready. I feel like Marty McFly at the end of Back to the Future, he's like, you guys just aren't ready for this, but your kids are going to love it.
Yeah.
That's funny. You said it was playing in the actual movie at one point, though? Like on
It
the,
was, yeah. I had
okay.
it in there, like, and it was right up. And Colleen was giving me shit about it, too. She's like, you should take this song out and put in just, like, horror movie score. And now it's, like, got horror movie score, and it's, like, totally forgettable. I'm like, come on. This should have been a sick 80s song.
This should have been something from the Mannequin soundtrack.
Why? Yeah. Well, since we're talking about great 80s songs, when we're talking about Mr. T, growing up, I had a phase where I got really into Mr. T, and I watched a lot of the A-Team. I've seen like at least more than one season's worth of A-Team episodes, which they're an hour long on TV. So, and no one ever gets shot, even though a lot of shooting happens, which is hilarious. I don't know if you guys know that about the A-Team. They had like a thing with the standards where they did not want to see the A-Team actually shoot anyone, but they're like military guys who shoot guns. So they just shoot like outlines around people, basically.
It's all like suppressing fire that just never hits anybody.
Exactly. And they roll a car in every episode because like that's the big stunt that they did on TV in the 70s is like rolling a car.
And then they weld stuff to build some kind of mechanism to thwart the bit. They always get pinned down somewhere, and it's always a garage with like a ton of tools and raw materials.
A lot of tools, yeah.
So
exactly.
Mr. T, like, people knew who he was before this movie. I always thought that. No.
A-Team was after this.
Yeah, this was his
Or no.
breakout.
Oh, because you just said A-Team was from the 70s.
I know, I meant 80s. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he was on. So he got cast in this because he appeared on a show. He had been like a bouncer and a bodyguard in Chicago, and he was gaining like notoriety just because he's such a big personality. And I guess the thing with all the chains was like people would get into fights at the clubs and their shit would come off, and he would just take, like, if some dude's chain came off or something, you just throw it around his neck. And if they wanted it, they could come back and get it from him unless they were kicked out of the club, and then it'd be like tough luck. Yeah. So he just had all these random chains around his neck, and he was like the walking lost and found. But like he became really popular, and then he showed up in there was this show for like Toughest Bouncer Ever that was on CBS. And it was like a weekly game show where the game show would change every week. And one week it was Toughest Bouncer Ever, or like Best Bouncer in the World, or something like that. And they competed in all these challenges, like throwing a stuntman through a plate glass window or whatever. And then the end thing was a boxing match. And Mr. T made it to the end on 2 different episodes of this. And in the boxing matches, like always against like some huge dude who was like 6'7" Samoan dude or whatever, and would just whoop the crap out of him in like 50 seconds. And so that's where people noticed him and were like, oh, holy shit, this guy should be in something. And that's where the casting directors found him for this movie. And the Pity the Fool line that he used for his entire career was written by Stallone based on some things that he had said on the TV show. He had said like, I feel really bad for the guy who's got to face me in the boxing ring. And Stallone shortened it to Pity the Fool. And then Mr. T just used that forever as his thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
Mr. T on the A-Team, his character was named B.A. Baracus. So his character's name was B.A., an abbreviation for badass, which was, great. His character refused to fly in airplanes or helicopters or anything like that because he, like, although he was big and tough, he was not comfortable flying. So every time they had to fly somewhere in the show, they had to knock him unconscious and like sneak his body onto the plane, which was hilarious. And one of my favorite episodes of him in this is they had an entire episode where the Culture Club, Boy George's band, was the guest for the episode. They were like in the whole episode and they were playing themselves. And B.A. Baracus was adamant about how cool the Culture Club was, and it was great.
That's so random.
It's awesome.
That sounds like a Colin
they cool.
favorite.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I realized, or what I think Harris pointed out, is that we forgot to do a plot summary for Rocky 2. So before we forget this time, before we go any further...
Oh, wait, I can do the plot summary for Rocky 2. Rocky won, but then he wins.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, speaking of the Eye of the Tiger, what happened to if Rocky fights again, he could go blind in one eye, and probably will.
Oh, yeah. No. Here's the thing, though. Those career-ending injuries only last for the movie that we're currently in. Once we get to another new movie, where like the slate is wiped clean, it's only the fight from the exact specific previous movie that matters. And you'll see that going forward. They do that again and again, where it's like...
Even in the Creed movies, they do it.
Even in the Creed movies, it's like, the reason he can't fight is blank. And then the next movie, it's like, no. That's just... No, he got over that. He got over the massive concussions, the detached retina, the whatever.
It grew back.
Yeah. Everyone knows if you give it enough time, it grows back stronger.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, should we do... Who's doing the plot summary? Is Harris? Has it been you? Did you do Rocky 1? Or was that Colin?
I definitely didn't do Rocky 2.
Yeah.
I could do it. I can't remember who's supposed to do it.
I think it is you.
Harris used to do it when I picked the movies, but
oh, really?
I didn't pick these movies.
I picked them. So maybe it's you, Colin.
All right.
Yeah.
In Rocky 2... when do I start? I have to. So am I just doing both of them in a row now?
No, don't do Rocky 2. Just skip Rocky 2. We've done Rocky 2.
We could edit it into the show.
No, we shouldn't edit it.
No. That's not what we're doing here, Matt.
All right. You ready, Colin? We're doing Rocky 3.
Rocky 3, let's go. All right, so the beginning of Rocky 3 starts with the end of Rocky 2, where he wins the heavyweight championship of the world. So we see him, and he's just doing really great now. He's fighting a bunch of opponents and just, like, beating them pretty easily. And Mickey is, loving that because he's his trainer, his coach. And then we see that there's this other guy, Clubber Lang, who he's pitying a lot of fools. And he's just working out hard and just like really like almost beating people to death in the ring. And Mickey is scouting him and he's scared. So then we see Rocky like fight against a wrestler, Thunderlips, and things just seem all good and stuff. And then this Clubber Lang guy confronts Rocky in the middle of his retirement press conference and says, like, does your wife want a real man, etc. And then Rocky's like, oh, I'll fight this guy. He's mean. And then Mickey's like, you shouldn't do that. And I'm getting sick. Except he hides the fact that he's getting sick. And then Rocky's like, I'm going to do it anyway. Mickey's like, no, no. Rocky's like, yes, yes. And then Rocky does it, but Mickey, right before the fight, falls ill. And during the fight, Rocky gets his ass kicked. And then he comes out and he's like, oh, Mickey's dead. And then he cries a lot and he's really upset. And then Apollo Creed comes around and Apollo Creed's like, you lost the eye of the tiger. That's why you lost the fight. You got to come train with me because I also don't like Clubber Lang. He was a real dick to me and I need something to do. So he takes Rocky under his wing, and then he just like tries to train him, and then he finally admits to Adrian that he's scared, and Adrian's like, "Oh, don't be," and he's like, "You're right." And then he's like, "Apollo, like, thanks for training me," and they kind of like fall in bro love, and like he starts to train real hard, and then he gets in the ring with Clubber Lang, who thinks he's gonna like beat his ass again, and Clubber Lang tries to beat his ass, but he can't because Rocky like is invincible to concussions, and then Rocky uses a bunch of his training from Apollo and wins. Happy ending.
That was really concise.
That's like weirdly.
That was one of our best ones.
That's so strange. I'm still kind of amazed.
Yeah, that's it. We said it all. No.
I think we're good. Episode over.
Let's talk about the things that did work for us in this movie.
Wait, did I make it clear that Apollo was talking about sort of an attitude rather than the actual eye of a tiger?
Man, I gave you a physical eye of a tiger in the last movie. What did you do with it?
You know, because he chased a chicken in Rocky 2. So in this one, if he has to chase a tiger and cut its eye out, you know, to train, some people might think
that would be a hilarious miscommunication. If he comes back covered in blood and scratches, and he's like, "I got the eye of the tiger." Yo, Apollo.
Hey, Apollo, I got that eye you were talking about.
And then Apollo's mad because it's clearly a puma eye.
Apollo's mad because that was his tiger. He's like, you know how much that tiger cost me? You can't resell them when they only got one eye.
You did miss Polly's whole deal in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't like to discuss Paulie because he's just such a
Oh, he's the worst.
Yeah, man.
In this one, they really lean into Paulie's racism too.
I was like, shit, man, Paulie, damn. And the funny part is like everybody just kind of acknowledges it and they're like, yeah, okay, you know.
It's just Paulie.
It's just
This
Paulie.
was back when like you could have a lovable comic relief character that like the whole joke of him is like, oh yeah, he hates black people.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's
man.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
And Paulie's fat again in this one. He was like
Yeah.
looking pretty good in the second one, and then he just let himself go again.
Yeah, I'm
It's
trying
part
to
of the
think of
character.
like
He was all depressed in the beginning. I think that was just part of it. It was for the role, you know?
what's the worst Paulie? What is it? The Rocky 1 Paulie where he's like abusive to his sister and an alcoholic and like a complete ingrate, or is
He's
it?
an alcoholic in this one too.
Yeah.
He's
very
also
much
a
so.
complete ingrate in all three of them. But like, yeah, like what's worse, being like, abusive to women or being racist? Like in a gym full of people of color, he is just like saying things that it's like, are you out of your goddamn mind? You're lucky you're with Rocky here, because
Rocky or not, they should have caught him outside.
yeah, no.
Like,
I feel like we should have at least gotten some side eye from Apollo of being like, are you? Will you knock it off?
that was the thing
feel
too. I was like, Apollo, you really not gonna say anything? Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. But,
I feel like Apollo did look a little upset about having to be there with this going on.
Yeah.
but you know, it's Paulie.
Colin, did you
It's
mention
good old Paulie?
Colin? Did you mention Thunderlips in your recap?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Another 80s icon that we see popping up here.
Yeah,
Mr.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
So
Cherry
good.
Balea.
He's so good in this movie.
yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
There's
Also-
a lot in this movie that I really liked and that I think works. But Harris, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that seeing Hulk Hogan in this movie reminds me of how huge Andre the Giant is. Because it's like Hulk Hogan is like legit. There's no trick photography or weird camera work or whatever. He's a lot bigger than Sylvester Stallone, like a lot bigger. He makes Sylvester Stallone look tiny. And then I think about that WrestleMania match where Andre the Giant makes Hulk Hogan look smaller than Sylvester Stallone looks in this. He makes like seriously, he's making him look like a tiny human, and it's incredible.
I wonder, like, how tall is Sylvester Stallone? Because I was like, they have to be doing something at some point. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's literally like, Hulk Hogan's like a whole head or more, like, taller and like towering over Sylvester at one point, right?
Stallone's only like
he is.
5'8".
Oh, really?
He's not that tall.
Oh, I didn't realize he's such like a little guy.
I'm gonna look up his height since
I'm curious.
I can.
Talk
amongst yourselves.
That's the first thing I thought about too. I was literally like, Hulk Hogan looks like a monster compared to him. So I was like, Andre the Giant is like, you know, unworldly, man.
And that's kind of the thing of this is
5'10".
5'10". Well, keep in mind that that's like pro basketball players too. That's like that's 5'10" is like a real life 5'8".
Okay, yeah.
But like he was always like, he's smaller than Carl Weathers. He's he's always the smallest guy. I mean, it doesn't, obviously you're not going to have your underdog hero fighting people who are smaller than him. That would be funny if it was like he took on some challenger that's like, oh, this guy's really good. He's wiry. He's moving up. He's moving up from flyweight. He's just barely cutting it, but he's going to step into the ring.
Also, like, doesn't he drop so much weight by the end of this in the actual script? Because the announcers are talking about his weight. He drops so much weight in this that he shouldn't even be fighting a heavyweight anymore.
That's what I was thinking at the end when they're like, I can't remember. They keep on saying he's weighing in at 202, and then he's down to like under 200 or something by the end. Yeah. But I was like, wait, where do the heavyweights end? Because he, like, in real life he's $150 or something like that. I think was what he was down to in this. Yeah. When he was in this movie. What the actor was, which is obviously not a heavyweight by any stretch of the imagination.
I think it's like around 190 is like where the thing is.
He apparently was eating 10 egg whites and a piece of toast a day. That was all he was eating. 10 egg whites and a piece of toast a day, and then he'd have one piece of fruit a week as a treat. And that was his diet while he was doing this, which, every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, man, it's not too late. I could get in really good shape. And I hear shit like that and I'm like, fuck that. No, I'm just gonna, whatever I am, that's good. Good enough.
When you say egg whites, do you mean like cooked egg whites or like in the first movie when he just downs the eggs?
I have no idea. I don't have an egg white unless it's like in a whiskey sour.
Okay. So, do you guys want to hear about the weight classes according to this Britannica article I've looked up?
Of course.
On Britannica.com.
Sure, why not?
Okay. So super lightweight. I'm going to skip a few. What do you want me to do them all? There's 17. Where should I start? Welterweight, super welterweight, like where?
Skip to the end.
I was just curious about heavyweight because I wanted to.
Okay, let's just do this. Light heavyweight is 175. Cruiserweight is 200, and heavyweight is unlimited.
Unlimited.
Unlimited in both directions.
Unlimited, yeah.
anything goes.
Well, that is the thing. Is like that's usually the weight classes is to protect the lower weights from the bigger weights, right? So like if you really are only weigh like 101 pounds and still think that you can fight against someone who weighs 350, then like. It's all people paying to see people beat the shit out of each other anyways. Yeah. So, right? Like
that's something we haven't really talked about in our exploration of these movies is like the sport of boxing itself. Like, do you guys think, like, I know I kind of feel this way about UFC a little bit, that it's sort of barbaric in a way. It's like it treads that line of like entertainment, like athleticism, but like also like insanity. Like we are watching people like beat the shit out of each other. Boxing is a little more like, what's the word?
There
are rules.
Boxing can be extremely technical too. So it's like a lot of skill. You know what I mean? I'm like, because I grew up watching a lot of boxing and everything like that, man. So that's why sometimes Rocky is kind of laughable to me, but it's all good.
The fact that they never get out of the way or try to dodge any punches,
it's just straight slugfest. Like, and you do get some boxers that are just brawlers, right? But I'm like, dude, you'd be dead. Like your career
put your
cannot.
hands up.
Yeah. So, but it's like, but yeah, man. Like in terms of just technique and skill and stuff like that, it's a whole thing, man. Especially like if you look at. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan, but like Mayweather had to change his entire career because he obviously was getting older, just to straight points into technique. You know what I mean? As opposed to like going for a knockout and stuff like that. So But boxing's getting good now, in a sense, just because the heavyweights are coming back, and it's been a while before that's even been like really a thing, you know. So,
yeah, that's a good point for this movie. Also, that's like kind of a plot point in this movie where Apollo is like, oh yeah, like you were paid to box because you used to get in the ring and fight people, but like I was an actual boxer and I know how to like train to be that kind of athlete, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. You know what I mean?
I think it's funny though that they spend all this time working on making him faster so he can avoid it, because it's like, you know, in the first fight with Clubber Lang, he complains that he can't get away from this guy and he can't take these punches, and this guy's just kicking the crap out of him, right? Because this guy hits too hard. And then so it's like, okay, so our strategy is we're going to make you fast so you can avoid getting hit and you can deal out punishment without actually taking any. And then he does that for a round and it works really well. And Clubber Lang gets really mad and starts hitting him. And then he's like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to get hit a bunch of times. This is my new strategy. Even though he spent months working on this strategy of learning how to avoid getting hit, my new strategy is I'm just going to let him beat the shit out of my head for like 2 rounds, and then when he's exhausted, but somehow I guess because he's tougher now, he doesn't get knocked out with all
the
these.
eye of
he
the
has the
tiger.
eye of the tiger. Come on, man.
It's the eye of the tiger. Yeah. The eye of the tiger
like-
is defeating like physics and concussions. It's the eye of the tiger is actually like, you know, preventing his brain from bleeding as much as it normally would.
Oh my
That's
God.
absolutely correct. Yeah,
No,
the
but-
science backs that up.
But that was the big thing. Yeah, he like tossed out the game plan after the first round. I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, it doesn't
He's still using it. He's still using it a little bit. Like the overall game plan is like he's gonna tire Clubber out, right? Like Clubber's gonna take a bunch of big swings and like he's not gonna actually finish, and Rocky will be able to finish because he's not having to take a bunch of big swings. But he really gives up on like the dodging the punches. You know, and we should have predicted this. Like this is what Rocky is. Like
Yeah.
we should have seen this coming. Like.
Because you think about it, if you have like a defensive boxer, like nobody's gonna care to watch that movie. That's like the issue with like a lot of Mayweather fights and stuff like that. People are like, this dude, all he does is block and dance around everybody. Nobody wants to watch that, honestly. But I feel like, I feel like the footwork thing was for, like the boxing crowd. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, he's doing footwork. It makes sense. You know what I mean? He's gonna be like a counter puncher or something like that. He's gonna switch his whole game up. And then literally for the movie, there's like, all right, F that, man. We gotta just go back and forth and just.
They couldn't have like 15 rounds of Rocky.
Nah, it wasn't gonna happen.
Outpointing him and not getting hit. Like,
Right, it's not gonna happen.
And Rocky lands a bunch of light jabs,
Right?
and evades a couple of big swings.
I'm against it. I want to see more movies. All boxing movies, they should always end with a decision, never a knockout.
my God.
It's too exciting.
Oh man, but it was like that was a really smart thing, just because like even again like heavyweights now, like you had Deontay Wilder, who was basically like a brawler, like, you know what I mean? He's looking for that like haymaker in a sense, you know what I mean? And then you got Tyson Fury, who has like great feet, and it's just like that's literally what wins you. Like more technical boxers are gonna win at the end of the day, and that's kind of what it was. So they were going for it, and I was like, I see where you're going, and it made sense, but you know. It's a movie.
I think it's hilarious, like how when he's pretending to be bad at like rhythm and agility and like stretching and stuff, like how far he takes it to make himself look like incapable of doing that stuff before he like learns.
Hey, I can't dance to this music.
Right. I love how he just gets faster. Like literally in the you know how they're racing each other the whole movie. And then by the end of it, he's beating him. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
Well, also, every Rocky movie to this point has had him sprinting in a scene where he looked crazy fast.
of course.
But then now he's slow. But also, did you notice the time when he beats Apollo at the end? Carl Weathers is dogging it so hard.
Absolutely.
Like he's in a slow jog. He's like, oh my God,
Absolutely.
you're getting like is that the character letting him win for confidence reasons, or is that the actor like, I can't believe how slow this dude is. I can't believe I've got to lose to Sly Stallone. He's so much slower than I am.
It's the performance, because if you watch it, he's asked to look back at Rocky with that pride and like that special feeling that he's having for Rocky during the mid-run. He has to like look over his shoulder, and he has to like acknowledge him, and we have to see that Apollo, the character, is, you know, it's part of the performance.
Let's talk about that special feeling. because I've got a lot of questions. Is there a homoerotic subtext to this movie, or is there not? Because I starting with the moment when they meet in the gym, and he's like, well, Apollo, you kind of got me curious, and Apollo's like, you got me curious, Stallion, and I'm just like, what are these guys so curious about?
They leave it up to the audience.
Yeah, I know. Am I? So are you saying that I'm putting my own thoughts in there, or I feel like it's in there. It's in the movie at some point.
He's like, you owe me a favor.
What happens?
You owe me a favor at the end of this. What
favor? I was shocked when that favor wasn't a hand job. I was.
Oh my god.
That's gonna be it.
Yeah, no, they leave it up to the audience. What happens to Tony Soprano?
Also a hand job.
Also gay, yeah. Yeah, they really like. This is what I've always wondered, if there is someone out there who's like, they're like a big movie buff. They're really into movies, and they strongly believe that the problem with movies today is that they've given up on their responsibility, and that they should look back at movies of the 80s because movies have a responsibility to be more gay. I wonder if that movie critic is like out there somewhere.
And this would be with Top Gun. This would be one of his.
Yep,
big...
Top Gun, Rocky. Yeah, Top Gun, Rocky 3. Yeah. It's out there. It's there.
It is there.
You know?
It is. There is a there. I'm convinced.
I think we're onto something. All right, let's switch gears for a second here. Let's start talking about like some major plot points of the movie. How do you guys feel about how Mickey was treated in this movie and his whole plot line?
I think he should have reported that he was having heart trouble earlier. To be honest, like, it's a little irresponsible.
Yeah, early prevention is the only way to really get ahead of these things.
Yeah, true.
Well,
I don't think he was even medicated.
No, he just it was back in the day. You just have to tough it out. That's just what they did.
Yeah.
Apparently.
My heart's trying to murder me to death.
They do that classic thing of like, he clutches his chest, he makes a face, and then like early on in the movie, like, okay, he's gonna die by the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's how you know he's a dead man.
The modern version of that is like
Meredith.
coughing into a napkin, and then you look, and it's like there's blood on it or whatever. Yeah.
Which is like, I've been coughing up blood for years.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's ever happened to me. I'm still around.
Burgess Meredith does a really good job of like being able to make all the blood rush to his head and turn it into like a pink and swelly kind of like look all over his face. Like, amazing. Like,
I don't know if that's acting. I think that's just how his head looks.
It's acting.
I think one of the big changes from the first two movies was, in the first movie, I thought, we even pointed out how little boxing there is in Rocky. And it's really kind of like this indie underground underdog story, like character study type thing. And it is pretty emotionally moving, like it's very effective. And the second movie, even though it wasn't as good, it still got really dusty when, Adrian tells him to win, and, they had like these emotional moments that actually paid off. And this movie is almost all about the boxing. And when they try to do the emotional moments, like Mickey dying, I couldn't stop laughing. I thought like Mickey's death scene, where like just the kind of bad acting and like over the top acting and stretching it out really far. It was like, just the more Sylvester Stallone cried and mumbled incoherently over his body, the funnier it got. So like on an emotional level, this movie did not work for me at all.
I don't know. That scene in particular I think works, but I do also kind of understand where you're coming from.
It did take him quite a while to die.
Yeah.
They didn't get him to a hospital very fast.
Yeah. It's
weird.
like they were asking him to. Yeah.
It's
like they were asking him. Oh my.
I was like, yeah, they literally. It's like the second he clutched his chest. It's like everybody in the movie wanted him to die, in a sense. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of. You're just like counting down the seconds until it happens.
Right. Let's do everything we can to make sure he dies. Like, that's basically.
We really have to get him to a hospital. Time is of the essence. Like, is Rocky the only ambulance driver they can find? I don't understand where they're like, well, we do have to get him to a hospital, but we're gonna wait for the fight to be over, and then you guys all say your goodbyes, and if he's still around, get right into the ambulance.
It sort of felt like they were talking to the actor, like, as soon as you're done with the scene, you're going to get in an ambulance and go to the hospital. So stop talking about stuff. And he's like, no, I'm performing a death scene here.
There was also a lot of like moments that I felt like they didn't trust the audience to figure stuff out. I felt like there was like a lot of things that people said stuff that like, yeah, okay, we get it. Like there was always some line to fill in the gaps. Like, in case you didn't know that Mickey had a bad heart, somebody was like, Mickey, oh no, your heart, or like when they get to LA and they say they're going to LA and then they get on a plane to LA and they go to train in LA and they show up and Paulie goes, hey, what are we doing here in LA? It's like, how many times have we got to say that you're fucking LA?
Well, to that point, they didn't really like show. Like, I feel like today, if they filmed this, they would show you that sweeping like LA skyline, like as the plane is coming in. Like, they don't really show anything like that. It just looks like Philadelphia. Like
they did show a lot of like Skid Row weirdos.
yeah.
Which I felt like that was. There was a part of me that was like, wow, they went with the real LA. Not just the Hollywood sign and the beach. They actually went with what we see every day as we're walking around. Like, deranged homeless people. God, they nailed it. It hasn't changed.
Honestly, like, yeah, there's a lot of parts of this movie that make it difficult to take it too seriously. I think one of the worst things is the idea that he's so famous that he thinks he can rent a hotel lobby to train in, because that way he can like train in front of the fans. Like, where did they get that idea? Like, how is that analogous to any real life thing? I would like to know. Like, what was that process like?
I don't know. I thought that was amazing, though. I thought that was great. As I was watching that, I was like, this is to set it up. This is a scene after Mickey says, you can't beat this guy. He'll murderize you. And then he promises Mickey, no, I'm hungry. I'm still hungry. I'm all about the training. We're going to train seriously. And then Mickey's like, okay, well, if you say so. And then the next scene is him going, hey, Mickey, lighten up. It's a party. Like, it's like the exact opposite of like, hey, we got a video arcade. Hey, the fans are wandering through. Well, let me just sign some autographs.
Neon signs, a giant portrait of him, Italian and American flags, balloons, a gift shop, cardboard cutouts, all of it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All of it's amazing.
Man. Yeah, they
Like,
really
why? But maybe I don't know. Maybe the real question is why did he not win against Clubber? I think training like that should have worked for the Rocky character.
Well, it definitely would have kept
got a lot of encouragement.
Would have kept him from being distracted, like you'd be used to a lot of, the big fight night, bright lights, things going on. It helps him focus. I'm currently watching him just get pummeled by Mr. T. They just never. Eventually, the big innovation between this fight and every other Rocky fight, the fight at the end, is like he actually does duck a couple punches. Like, he keeps his head moving, which is something that he literally, in the first, however many fights he fights through the loss to Clubber Lang in this movie, he literally never moves his head once. He's got his head out, gloves out to the side and head forward, like punch here.
Yeah,
like punch.
That's not totally accurate. That's not totally accurate because he does move his head into the fist.
Yeah. Occasionally tries to hurt his opponent's fist with his forehead.
Yeah, it's part of the game plan.
I like that the whole Mickey thing is like all just to get so that Apollo Creed becomes his trainer, or like it's like Creed and what's Creed's like trainer's guy's name? Duke. Yeah, Duke. I like Duke a lot too, and Duke becomes he continues throughout, right?
Oh, he becomes Rocky's trainer
eventually.
For the future movie.
Yeah, for some reason. No spoilers.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Why is it just
no
Apollo?
What's up with Clubber Lang pre-fight, like pacing back and forth in front of like the badgering media? Like, it's like it seems like he doesn't want to do that, but it seems like that couldn't happen unless it was staged.
Yeah, I kind of like that. He's like, I want to be alone. Leave me alone. Stop talking to me. Get out of here, fools. And he just keeps on walking back.
Where's his people? Where's his trainer people? Like, what?
No, don't you remember? I train alone. I fight alone.
Man.
So good.
Yeah, because he
yeah,
really. Did you even see whether? I'm trying to remember the scene. If there was even any media, did you actually see anybody in the locker room besides him? And he's just walking back and forth, yelling at the camera. Basically.
Maybe he's just walking
Right?
back and
Yeah.
forth, yelling to himself. He's just getting himself
I'm
amped
just
up.
like,
He's
Hello,
imagining.
quit talking to me.
oh man.
He actually has cornermen, which is funny because you really every other time you see him, he is training alone, literally, and there's nobody else. And then he's got these cornermen who he never listens to, who spend like they're almost like his own personal bouncers to keep him from assaulting the wrong people.
Right.
You know, like when he tries to like fight somebody that isn't in the match, they've got to like hold him back.
The contrast between Rocky's cornerman and Clubber's cornerman like was very, because this is 81, correct? Like it was very like this is going from the 1970s into the 1980s. Like Clubber is in the 80s and Rocky is like still in the 70s in some ways. Like and to me, you see it when you look at like the cornerman and like the way the clothes and everything. Like Clubbers, they're all like Nikes, like Nike jumpsuits. They've got like matching hats and everything. And then like Rocky still has like the big lapels on his his robe and like all that stuff.
And
like
his corner is an assortment of like 60-plus-year-old Italian guys.
yeah, and like the yellow with the like the little captain's hats and stuff. Yeah, and the huge lapels on the yellow Rocky jacket that Mickey's wearing when he dies. The lapels are like 4 inches.
Yeah, it isn't until the next movie that they fully embrace the 80s, like all over.
Yeah.
Right? There's like a robot. There's some other crazy shit.
This death scene lasts so long.
Oh, you're up to the death scene?
Forever.
He's just crying and screaming, and there's like I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of things that they were trying to make into catchphrases too. Like Paulie, how many times does Paulie say, "Oh, I don't sweat you"?
Oh, yeah. He
It's
says
like,
that a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Just it's not going to happen. Please stop it.
Well,
Oh, I guess it's the second Clubber fight where they have the Nike jumpsuits and the like 80s looking stuff. Sorry, the
Yeah.
first Clubber fight they also have the 70s.
I love the Rocky robes that they have in the second fight though, where Rocky's written on the back of all their robes, but it looks like it's in like ice cream
The
shop
font.
font.
I love that font. I love
It's
that
so
font.
bad. It's so dumb.
It's like I realized that like I was told that font was very ugly, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I like that Stallone's brother is in. He's 3 for 3 now. He's in that scene. What's the brother's name? I'm blanking. Frank Stallone.
Frank.
Yeah, that's it.
Frank
Frank,
Stallone. Not only is he in several scenes, he sings all the songs in this movie that aren't the Survivor song.
Wow. He's really giving his brother a shot there.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
man.
awesome.
Family first, right?
Family first.
Yeah, international recording artist Frank Stallone.
Yeah, frankly, I think it's a great idea.
Oh god.
Wow. Hey, are we ready to play our game, Top 4?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Who's running it?
Is it Mr. T? It has to
I
be
think it
Mr.
has
T.
to.
That would be a good
Yeah.
one. Or Hulk Hogan.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool. What if he said it in a really relaxed way?
They probably did a take.
No, I don't.
Like that.
Yeah.
Just say it as calm as possible.
No, I don't hate Balboa.
All
I
right.
just pity the fool.
So, first, let's see. Okay, this is...
Like, is Mr. T in other movies besides this?
I'm really sitting here trying to think, and I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm like
He
struggling.
is,
Like,
he is, but
super
they're not.
hard.
Honestly, the ones that I would have guessed are not in his top 4.
Wow.
I think Mr. T's a bad one. We can try it if you want, but Hulk Hogan's
Oh,
better.
Hulk Hogan, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so
So
the guest goes first.
you get
So
one
Sean,
guess. We do like a round robin.
Guess, yeah, give one guess. What is a movie that Hulk Hogan is in? There's an easy one.
Is there?
Really easy, super easy.
I'm really trying to think here. It's really easy.
You're thinking too hard. It's super easy. You've seen it recently.
Really?
Well, I know what I'm gonna guess.
Oh, like I've seen it recently? What? Oh. I mean,
Very recently.
yeah. Oh, duh, dude. Rocky 3. Come on, man.
All right, that's one. That
I
is
was gonna
one.
say Baywatch. So, oh, yo.
All right, Colin, you want to go next?
What's that one where he's like the babysitter? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. If you can think of the title of that
I forgot
one.
about that, man.
Fuck. It's not. I know the title is not Mr. Mom, and the title is not The Pacifier, but
I think I know it.
It's something like that. Fuck. And it's not Major Payne. Shit. There's so many movies like that like. Oh. Fuck. It's the baby strong guy.
Wrong.
He was actually kind of in 2 movies like that, so I'm not sure which one you're trying to get. One of them is in his top 4. One of them isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get that one.
Wait, is it my turn? Was that your guess?
Yeah, I can't. I don't
There's
know,
this
I
movie
can't
I used
get
to
it.
watch with him in it as a kid all the time, and I'm blanking on the title of it. It's like Domestic something, or like I remember the title is cool. It's like Domestic Disturbance or something like that.
No, Domestic Disturbance was a movie with. Was that like Ray Liotta?
I don't know.
This is a
But I'm going to guess the babysitter one. Is it Mr. Nanny?
No, that's the other one. That's the one
Wrong.
that it isn't. There's
Oh,
one.
fuck.
There's one that's like that with more of a sci-fi theme.
Yeah, I know. I've seen.
Oh,
that
I
movie,
just
like,
thought of it.
when
I
was
just
that
thought of it.
Blockbuster.
But it's Sean's turn. So Sean, do you have a guess
About the sci-fi one?
about any of
Just
them?
any guess, any Hogan guess.
Oh my gosh.
We're moving into the hint round next, so you can pass.
I think I have 2 ready to go. I don't know what is wrong with me.
Yeah, definitely pass. I have no idea.
Wrong.
All right, Colin, you got a guess?
I know it's not Encino Man, but it's like a similar type of title. You know what I mean? It's like Laser Bro or something. Fuck.
Laser Bro is a good guess, but wrong.
Laser
Wrong.
Bro is my guess.
Okay, ready? Suburban Commando.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so now we're
was close.
now we're
Domestic
into the hint
Disturbance,
round.
Suburban Commando. Do you see where I was going?
Yeah, same thing pretty much. Yeah. All right, so now we're in the hint round, and I'm going to give you a hint for both of these. I'm going to give you 2 separate hints for the 2 separate movies.
I know another one, by the way.
Oh, then maybe I shouldn't give you that many hints.
I've
No,
got
give-
one on
give the
deck. I've
hints.
got it on
Definitely
deck.
need the hints.
All right.
Definitely need the hints.
So one of these is a movie where Hulk Hogan plays a wrestler in a wrestling movie about wrestling. And so it's like that's the whole idea of the movie is it's like a wrestling movie. The other one of these is a sequel to a popular 80s horror comedy movie.
Oh, I know it. I know them both.
All right.
Okay. It's Sean's guess.
It is
Yo,
Sean's
so
guess.
that wrestling movie, can you tell me like?
I feel like if I say too much, I'm going to give it away. But,
I just want to know the
well,
time frame here. Like what, like you know what I mean? If it's like,
it's what year is it? It's 1989.
oh shit, that didn't
And
help, man.
and
I don't know what that is.
and I'll give you one more hint. Tiny Lister is in it. If you guys know who that is,
Can I just say it?
yeah, go ahead. Just
Is it No Holds Barred?
it is No Holds Barred.
Yeah, I would not have gotten that.
All right. All right.
Oh, you know what was crazy when did you ever hear that story about how on set Tiny Lister got really mad at that guy about his breath? He really laid into him.
Oh,
He got
this is
he
like
got
such
Lister reamed.
This is such a painful, such a long way to go for such a dumb pun. Colin, I'm going to give you an opportunity since you haven't had enough
Why is
guesses.
that funny?
Do you have a guess? Do you have a guess for what sequel to an 80s horror comedy movie Hulk Hogan might have been in?
One of the Chucky sequels, Child's Play 2 or
Wrong.
something.
No.
Okay, fuck.
Matt, you want to put us out of our misery here?
Is it the classic film Gremlins 2, The New Batch?
It is. It is. Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Wow. Speaking of Jordan Peele, have you guys seen that sketch?
Oh, when he's pitching the Gremlins for Gremlins 2? Yeah. That's a great one. Everyone should look that sketch up.
I don't think I have seen that one.
I haven't seen that
sounds
one.
Oh, it's so funny. It's like a bunch of studio executives sitting around a table and they're like, "All right, we got to do Gremlins 2. What have we got?" And like they can't come up with anything good. And then all of a sudden there's like Jordan Peele is at the door and he's like dressed very flamboyantly. Like I don't know what his character is supposed to be. He's just a guy who goes from like exec office to exec office and like throwing wild ideas out there. And he just goes around the table and he's like, first gremlin that comes into your head, what do you got? And the guy's like, I don't know, an electric gremlin that's made out of electricity. And he's like, do you mean a gremlin that's made completely out of like wiggly electric lines? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, that's perfect. That's going in the movie. Next guy. And he's like, I don't know, vegetable gremlin.
Like they come up with more and more increasingly dumb ideas, and he embraces every one of them.
Yeah.
What about a sexy gremlin that looks like a lady? But it's like it's actually what ends up in the movie because that movie was just
A googly-eyed gremlin that looks stupid as hell. Yeah, that's going in the movie.
It's a movie that's just fueled entirely by cocaine and desire for money.
Yes, like every movie.
Mr. T's is not good. One of them's this movie, the other is the A-Team, and the other two are Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Not Another Teen Movie, which I don't think we would.
Oh.
It would have taken us a
Cloudy with
while
a
to
chance.
get to this.
Obviously. Played
Oh
myself.
man, I knew he was in Not Another Teen Movie, but I probably would not have guessed that.
Yeah, it would have been terrible.
Wow, Hulk Hogan, one of the greatest actors of our time.
Oh god.
Suburban Commando, that's a movie I have not thought about for probably 20 years. But I used to watch it a lot as a kid, and I couldn't tell you anything that happens in it right now. He's like from
I can't
space
even
or something?
Yeah, it's like he's not even like a commando. He's like a spaceman. It's like a space starfighter or something.
That was in the era of like the Three Ninjas. Do you remember
Yes.
those movies?
Yes.
And Surf Ninjas, which is my favorite of that era.
Is that the one with Leslie Nielsen?
many
Classic.
times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Nanny, kind of. Like the name, definitely.
Yeah.
Wait, that was the movie, Mr. Nanny?
Isn't it Mr. Nanny?
Yeah, Mr. Nanny
Yeah.
is a movie. It's just not in his top 4.
It should be, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely should be.
Yeah.
I remember the poster. He's wearing like a tutu and he's holding a kid
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, it's almost like the poster for Suburban Commando where he's wearing spaceman commando stuff and holding somebody. Like,
That's just his thing.
Like they had this idea like, wouldn't it be funny if a big strong dude could actually like act like a normal person in a domestic situation?
Wait, didn't The Rock do the exact same thing as Mr. Nanny, basically?
The pacifier?
Like he was in a tutu or yeah, it's the same thing, right?
No,
That's Vin
the
Diesel.
pacifier was Vin Diesel, but
No,
The Rock
The
has
Rock
also
did
done
something.
The
Like,
Rock
it's like
did
Tooth
one of
Fairy.
those.
or
The Tooth
something like
Fairy,
that, but he's
yeah.
wearing a
Yes,
Tooth
tutu.
Fairy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's wearing a tutu in the same way.
Yeah,
I actually saw the
It's a
Tooth
rites of
Fairy.
passage.
Yeah, we
Forever
haven't. Yeah,
progressive.
if you get big and strong enough as a
Yeah.
movie star, they will put you in a movie where they're like, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if you were a normal human?"
But you have to be like from the WWF originally. That was a prerequisite there. But,
Well, like the whole thing is like big, strong, masculine is like not the traditional child care provider, right? So then, like, if we that's just a situational comedy, then, right? Yep.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if he didn't beat these kids? Would that be a weird? That'd be an outcome that you did not see coming. That's the twist.
Oh,
See, we
man.
put this vicious man in this room with a bunch of children, and he doesn't murder them all. Get it? Gold.
Yep.
Green light.
Got it.
it's like Kindergarten Cop was the same kind of situation too.
Oh yeah,
right?
Kindergarten
Yeah.
Cop is. I mean, I almost feel like Kindergarten Cop elevates that whole genre to a whole other level.
Yeah,
but
of course.
that's- Yeah.
You almost feel like that?
Yeah.
Seems like you feel
I
like
feel
that.
like that a lot. I feel like that a lot. I got a question. I'm watching this gym scene, and where they first go into Apollo's gym,
Oh god.
and I've got so many questions. I got so many questions about the scene. It's
so many problems with it.
Are
many
you wishing
problems.
that it was smell-o-vision?
No, but I can. But believe me, you could. This is a grimy looking gym, and you know
can
what it
almost
smells
smell
like.
it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what it smells like. Because just anybody who's been in an old gym knows what old sweat smells like. Oh my God, there's Paulie being racist again.
Yeah.
No, my question is this. First of all, I don't really understand why they're taking it back to the beginning. Because he's not hungry enough. Why aren't they moving into his old apartment? Why aren't they moving into like Apollo's old apartment in
Never
Apollo's
understood that.
hometown?
Never understood.
Well, that's my question is he goes to Mickey's gym. That's where Apollo and him meet. He goes to Mickey's gym. Mickey hasn't worked there in a while. Mickey has been his trainer. So, like, it was left abandoned, but it's still Mickey's gym, like the signs up. I guess it's just, like, not valuable real
Maybe they
estate,
hired
right?
somebody else to run it. I don't know. But my question is, they walk in, and there's like they are the Italian people are the only white people in this room, and all these fighters are working out, and they all just turn around silently and just mean mug them, like, and because like Apollo's their guy, so you'd think that he would get like, hey champ, what's up, how's it going, bud? But it's like he maybe called ahead and said like, hey, listen, when we walk in, just give your like meanest looks. Just don't say hi. Nobody smile. If anybody smiles, you're banned from the gym for a month. And then like later, they're like, hey Rocky, I want you to meet some of the guys. And it's just like they're all hugging him and everything, and it's like, hey, oh Rocky, we all love Rocky. I just don't get like that whole, like I don't. It's like one of the many times in this movie where I think they put what they wanted to happen above what actually made any fucking sense, you know?
Well, they were all staring at Polly. That's what they were all staring at Polly. They're like, "Oh, we know you, man. Like, you know, you look racist."
Yeah.
Is Adrian?
He doesn't have to say anything, just to look at his face.
We knew it. We knew it, man.
Is Adrian with them at that point?
Yeah. Yep.
It would be weird if like there's like a group of people in street clothes walking into this place with a woman in her like street clothes. It would be weird.
I guess. I think Sean's probably right though. There's probably like more of a leave the cannoli out in the car, you know? Like, just we don't need that.
Oh man.
We haven't talked about Adrian really in this movie. What are our thoughts on her in this?
She just like keeps getting like way smarter from what she was in Rocky 1. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's sort of both the characters. They've become like smarter and more sophisticated, and like part of the charm of Rocky was that he was kind of a dope, and you know he meant well, and he had a way of saying something profound even in his own stupid way. But like in this movie, he's slowly getting to be like a functional normal person, which is way more boring.
It almost suggests like that the saga of Rocky is trying to prove the point that brain damage will make you smarter until it totally like, you know, makes you dead.
There's a sweet spot there of like just brain damaged enough that he's smarter.
Yeah.
Because aside from Apollo, he's almost the wisest person in this movie, isn't he? Like kind of, which is kind of weird.
Well, like, and then like suddenly he's like really emotionally mature, where he can like finally say like the problem is that I'm afraid of something. Like, which I think that's a good scene, and like it makes sense and it works, but it also doesn't work because like that's not who Rocky was in Rocky 1, and like just things have gotten so over the top at that point.
Also, I don't know what Sylvester Stallone, the director's direction was for his actors in that scene, but if it was yell all your lines at the top of your lungs, I guess they nailed it, because that seems like it was like, okay, now I'm going to yell at you, and then she's like, all right, well now I'm going to yell at you. I've got a long monologue, and it's going to be all at this pitch.
That's what emotion is. That's emotion.
Just one tone. Just up
just
here,
one tone, but up there. Yeah.
The whole time. Oh, man. The screaming match is great.
Yep.
I like the idea that Rocky gets smarter with every movie, the more hits that he takes. Like by the end, he's just like a professor of oncology at like Carnegie Mellon.
And you know what? This actually checks out, because then he retires, he stops getting hit, and then by the Creed movies, he's back to being like a big dopey simpleton who has like wisdom despite the fact that he's totally inarticulate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a parabola, like of brain
damage. Yeah, exactly. He's like the Benjamin Button of brain damage. It's like everything happens in reverse for him.
Button of brain damage.
Here's a question, and I think I'm gonna assume that this is gonna be a no. But how many of you guys have ever worn a crop top?
I think I have. I've been told that I should like do it more. Okay. by not men either.
Okay.
Honestly, not like
well, you were a football player, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like that was the thing.
In football, they used to give us those shirts that go underneath the shirt that is just supposed to go underneath the shoulder pads, and those shirts will always wear crop tops.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess the
only purpose.
I have to say that in high school football, I did wear one of those shirts.
I was like,
other than
you would
that,
cut it even if it wasn't made like that. That's just what it was. You know, so.
But Harris, you raise a good point there that we need to wear more crop tops in our life. Bring that back.
It's almost
shorts and crop tops, man.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you're saying that modern movies have lost their responsibility to be more gay.
It comes full circle. Here's something I want to bring up. I feel like movies from this era like do such a good job. I guess I don't know if it's like the production design or if the world was just a dirtier place, but like I feel like city streets and like alleyways and gyms. I'm looking at the gym right now. Like, yeah. Everything just looks so dirty and like real. This movie feels like a documentary. Like they just put the camera and this is what this place looked like. I guess I brought this up kind of before on the show, but like I think if a movie like this were made today, the streets wouldn't look as dirty and like the gym would probably be clean and better lit. Like, I don't know, like have we kind of lost something? Like are movies not real enough anymore or something? Or is the world just truly a cleaner place? I don't know.
Well,
I think it's both.
I would venture that a lot of these buildings, when they were built, were like, post World War II era, or maybe even, pre World War II era, and they were very utilitarian and made with, a lot of the, concrete and brick and steel and whatever. Whereas post this, when they were tearing down these old buildings, they were building up stuff that was a lot of prefab, a lot of, like molded stuff. And so buildings don't age the same because the buildings that were built in the 70s and 80s kind of had their own look that was very different than that. And then when they aged, they sort of, what like a tacky 70s building looks like,
Yeah.
And then they get torn down because they look goofy. Whereas these buildings were like around for decades and kind of had some like grit to them. And there still are buildings that are that old. But there's less and less of them, right? Because they get torn down. So I think this is like the perfect era where buildings that were 50 years old were still standing and were made, in this very industrial kind of way. Whereas now, I think post 1980, everything is a little bit cleaner that was new. And then when it gets old, it either gets torn down or it just looks kind of, a different kind of old,
That opening shot when they get to LA has that roof sign of Rosslyn Hotel, I think it is.
Yeah.
That still looks the exact same today. Or yeah, whatever. Roosevelt. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that looks the exact same today. So.
Yeah, true. And that's a good point because a lot of the old buildings in LA are still, I think that's one of many that are still pretty much untouched from, the early 20s, 30s, 40s maybe. Now they've been remodeled and stuff. So I think that's another thing when you look at like the prosperity of the country experience, especially the major cities in the 80s and 90s. I think you had a lot of people revamping a lot of the buildings and the infrastructure in New York and LA and some other places. But, when they want to shoot gritty 70s, stuff now, they find a lot of Rust Belt cities, probably around where Sean's from, that didn't get that 80s, 90s upgrade. And a lot of them are like their buildings are still run down. There's certainly cities in this country, in the middle parts of this country, where like if a neighborhood burns down, they don't necessarily even like tear it down and rebuild, So a lot of times, like that was, this is a long time ago, but Escape from New York was shot. I think they shot St. Louis for New York just because there was a neighborhood that had burned down a decade earlier that nobody had bothered with. And they just were like, perfect. It looks like if somebody burned down New York.
But then like RoboCop, I know takes place in Detroit, but they shot it in Houston for Detroit.
Well, RoboCop was shot in Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys ever done any boxing? Did we ask this already? Did we talk about this in a previous thing?
I just moved. I did a lot of boxing, like putting things in boxes. I would have liked to have done boxing. I was always kind of interested in it, but I have really weak ass wrists, as you can tell. So I would not have lasted.
I had a little phase where I was like obsessed with the idea of like becoming one because like like when I was younger, I had I spent a lot of time getting like real obsessed with sports because my real dad, my biological dad, was very much like not into sports. So it's something I kind of like got into on my own. And then I had a little phase where I was obsessed with boxing because that's what I thought I wanted to do because I thought like Muhammad Ali was such a like of like a vibrant character in historically, like I know it's like he's a real person, not a character, but you know what I'm saying.
He was
like
kind of both.
yeah, but he was such a like larger than life figure that like that kind of like
I tapped into that a little bit, like being, thinking that was really interesting. And then also just like movies like this, like I had a phase where like, I had to see all the Rocky movies and like all that stuff. But yeah, my parents, my mom and my dad were like very against it. They were like, kind of like we didn't work, this hard all our lives to like have you like go get brain damage, that kind of attitude, like.
Well,
and
if you don't get hit, you don't get brain damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't that confident that I would.
Did you guys slap box at all when you guys were kids?
Yeah. A little bit, like here and there, like kids fight and stuff. And I also like had glasses growing up, like really thick glasses, and so I would have had to wear contacts anyways, which is like really like the contacts I had to wear when I was younger they had to be like rigid because they like could not make like soft ones for my prescription.
They couldn't be curved. They had to be straight. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Old square eyes, that's what they used to call me.
No, but yeah, man. Now I think about it, I remember like my entire and my like when we moved from L.A. to Cincinnati. We kind of moved into like an apartment kind of complex, right? Where there was a bunch of different kids from all these different cities and stuff like that. And then we constantly would have like slap box wars. It gets to a point where it's like the second you stepped out of your house, you could get smacked in the face. It's like you could hit whoever it was, but it was always open-handed. That was the whole thing. You know what I mean? And then so like it got to a point, I remember one summer where you'd come out of your house just like ducking around corners and stuff like that because it was just on and cracking at any time. And that's kind of when it was. So we would do that, and then when it got super serious, because somebody always accidentally close-fisted somebody, it was inevitable. It's going to happen. Then we get the gloves out. I had a buddy of mine that always kept gloves in the back of his car just all the time. And then so we would do that. We would go at it with each other and stuff like that. So it was crazy. That's why I always thought I was going to end up boxing at some point because, you just kind of grow up with it and everything. But, yeah, I never really did it in a competitive way outside of just, like, running around the neighborhood, slap boxing people and boxing.
Here's the other big question. Did anyone consider a mohawk heavily because of
I did want
yeah.
to have the Mr. T haircut, but I wanted the whole thing. I wanted like the beard and like it wouldn't be good enough just with a mohawk. And then
that's the tragedy of the Mr. T haircut. I think is like when you want to have it the most is like in that phase where you're still not able to grow facial hair,
pretty devastating.
It was always
I guess I could do it now, but it seems like it's maybe too late.
It was always the chains.
Yeah,
for
that
me,
sounds like
man.
you're afraid.
I said it was always the chains for me. Like I just wanted all the gold ropes.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the chains and everything like that. So, but yeah, man.
I remember like as a teenager, like 14, 15, something like that, going to the police athletic league in the next town over to play basketball sometimes. And it was like a lot of Puerto Rican kids that would play in the basketball league, but then they would also be working out in the gym and like working on, and I used to see them and be like, oh, cool, maybe I should come here and learn how to box. That would be cool. And then I would see these guys who were like literally half my size with like 0% body fat and these like skinny ass arms, but they would be like working the speed bags and like, bobbing their heads and just, it just didn't take me long to see a dude who was probably like half my size and about 5 years younger than me that I would not want to fight and just be like, okay, no, I think it's too late for me.
He's like
I think
5 years younger than you, but he has a whole mustache. Like
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and he started fighting when he was like 3, so like he's much better.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my like male friends through like teenage years and stuff were very much like, oh, we want to do like boxing training at some point because like we need to get cut, like and like just be in like the best shape of our lives or whatever. But
and that's the thing, you do have to start when you're young, like super young. Otherwise, it's just
I'm not doing that Tybo bullshit.
Billy Blanks.
It's got to be like real boxing. I'm not doing it to stay in shape. I'm doing it to get in the ring.
Yeah. I'm curious about like Billy Blanks' actual like fighting abilities.
Tybo is not. It's not a martial
but like.
I'm Googling Billy Blank's real fight right now.
Like, like let's see what he can do against somebody.
I randomly went down a rabbit hole and I was watching like Kimbo Slice fights, like backyard brawls and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did that a long time ago when Kimbo Slice was like getting big.
Yeah, man. Because he had hands for a big guy, just especially to just be brawling in backyards and stuff like that, form and everything on some level, you know.
Yeah. I am currently watching Billy Blanks beat the hell out of some guy named Larry Kelly in a karate tournament.
Is he doing Taibo?
It's Karate Kid style karate tournament where they have like flags. And they're throwing they're
wearing gis.
Yeah, they're wearing gis. Well, it looks like this guy Larry Kelly's wearing like a red T-shirt and jeans.
What year is it?
It's like the 70s or something. They're definitely like bell bottoms. And they're doing that thing where they'll kick a leg up in the air and then throw like 3 different kicks without bringing the leg down. Yeah, some serious shit.
Yeah.
So apparently Billy Blanks did some actual karate. It's not just for fitness. It's not just for housewives.
When is his comeback? You know, or did he never?
He's gonna be in Creed 3. You didn't hear?
He is.
He's
training.
I cannot tell if you're joking.
I'm joking. Oh man.
You've done a lot of stuff in your life, Creed, but you ain't never fought Billy Blanks.
Go get this Taibo.
No, she's gonna train him. Gotta have the ears of the peacock. Ears of the peacock. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, Billy Blanks can't be Billy Blanks in a Rocky movie. He has to have like a ridiculous nickname,
Billy Blanks is already the ridiculous name.
Yeah, right.
He's got a perfect name for it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the Rocky villains or the heels rather, like it's all about their name. You know, the better the name, the better the movie.
Yeah.
Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, and then the last one. What's
Tommy
the guy from
Gunn.
5? That one's stupid.
They're all stupid.
Mason the Lion Dixon is from Rocky
that's
Balboa.
the best one.
Mason Dixon is pretty good.
No, but like Clubber is not on his birth certificate though. Like his name is actually something. Like,
Clubbert?
What was it? Chuck Clubbert.
Clubbertinand.
Clubberto.
Oh man.
Clubberto.
Clubberford.
No, there's some point in the movie where they show that his actual name is something like Charles or Chuck Charles and Chuck are the same name. I'm sorry about that. You guys didn't notice that? No one saw
did
this?
not.
I did not.
Frankly, I don't want to believe it.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to imagine his mother being like, "Clubber, this is Clubber."
This is Clubber.
I want it to be the same way that Mr. T was born. Just came out with that name and that facial hair.
Mr. T.
The hardest part of the delivery was those feather earrings.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah, like they're so shirtless and sweaty when they're training together, and then I just noticed Duke is in the background and he's wearing like slacks with like a belt and everything, but he's also shirtless and sweating for some reason, even though he's just back there saying.
Well,
like,
we
keep
know that's
going.
just how Duke rolls. He's not wearing a shirt if he doesn't absolutely have to. This goes back to the first Rocky movie. If that man could pop the buttons on that shirt and just take it off, he will.
I mean, Rocky 1 and 2 had montages, but I feel like this is the first movie where they're like, "Hey, how can we kill 10 minutes? Another montage."
Definitely.
And they really roll with this going forward, especially in the next one.
This establishes the montage formula, is where you have the first training montage and then you interrupt it with a scene that tells you like how it really needs to be, or how like the training needs to get harder or whatever, and then you get the full training montage afterwards.
Yeah, and the songs just go on for so long, and they have like interludes and stuff. It's great.
So good.
Yeah, it's like somehow it's an hour and a half long movie, hour 48 minutes long movie with only about an hour of stuff happening, and the rest is just extended montages or crying scenes.
Yeah, like if Rocky keeps going this way, the script to a Rocky movie like could get down to maybe 15 pages or so.
And I think that's because they don't have as much to say about the actual characters. I just don't think it's like all the evolution of this Rocky character is kind of over at this point. So it's like it's the entire
That's
story.
not what Apollo says.
The entire story is like, will he train hard enough to win this next fight? You know.
I feel like they should have made Adrian a fighter, and then we all would have been.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. Like Rocky 3, Foxy Boxing, where he trains Adrian to be a fighter.
I gotta fight you, but I love you.
She would have had like a great nickname. She could have been like the Pet Shop Puncher or the Pet Shop Puncher or something like that. So good.
Man. You guys know the story on that the freeze frame at the end, like that last when they're now I don't know it either, but it just looked like they really were gonna hit each other. I mean, because I like stopped it and tried to slow it down a couple of times to see if it was like they faked the hit and everything like that. But I'm just like, shit, dude, it looks so. The reaction and everything, I was like, damn, man, I don't really know how you stunt that one.
I think they do hit each other. I think it's just all the other movies have ended with a freeze frame, so like that's like part of it being a Rocky.
But I mean,
movie.
I'm talking about like,
but I mean, the actors,
the performance, the actual.
Yeah. Because they're not going to punch they're not going to both punch each other in the face. I was just wondering, like, I guess you could do it where you're like aiming at the guy's shoulder or whatever. But like they had like real beef in the first movie because they kept on actually punching each other in the fights, and they would get pissed off. Like one guy would actually not pull a punch, and then the other guy would be pissed off, so he wouldn't pull a punch, and they actually would end up actually beating each other.
Yeah, and I heard that too, so that's why I felt like that last that one. I was like, looks like nobody's pulling punches, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know, but
and then they were like, "Now rush this off to our oil painting. Rush this freeze frame off to our oil painting guy. We need this ready for the printing."
Yeah, they stepped it up to an oil painting instead of the style from the previous movie, which you guys did not like. The outline or whatever, like the negative outline.
Yeah, it's like the negative. The oil painting is clearly the same oil painter that did the giant portrait that was hanging in the hotel ballroom training area.
Totally.
It's kind of like Jackson Pollock-y with except for you could actually make out the little Rocky in there.
Yeah. So if he made his training public with a hotel ballroom, how does Clubber not just go there and just start talking shit to him like in the ballroom? Maybe
it was invite only.
Punch out one of the big band members. Why does he have a big band in there?
I like that this is really the movie where it blurs the line between Rocky the movie character and Rocky the character in the movie. Like it's like we don't know, like there's a statue that actually is still in Philadelphia to this day of Rocky that they use in this movie about the fighter, but the actual statue is about the character. There's a video game that came out, or a pinball machine that came out in conjunction with this movie that is actually in this movie. There's also the band, the live band that he has playing at his training session is playing a slowed down version of the Rocky theme, which is apparently something that people in the context of this movie are aware of, maybe. That this is his theme song. They all apparently know that climbing these steps to the Philadelphia Museum is his training method. Like, there's all these things that like they shouldn't know, and yet they do, because they've all seen the movie that doesn't exist in the world of the movie.
In the world of the movie, that song was spontaneously created by Rocky training very hard. Like, it just, you could hear it in the air at a certain point once he got past a certain point of training very hard.
Everyone's just like, can you hear that?
Yeah, literally.
Yep.
What is that noise?
Yeah, man, Eye of the Tiger. One of the best songs ever made.
That's also a hot take.
Should we rate this thing? Are we at that point? I mean, is there anything else we have failed to mention? This movie's pretty short. It's like an hour and a half or something, right?
Yeah.
Did we talk about how awesome it is that everyone's like glistening so hard in this movie?
There's a lot of glistening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
got that
I want to
glow.
glisten like that. Like, what do they put on their bodies that makes them glisten like that?
It's got to be baby oil.
Definitely
right?
baby
Just a
oil.
lot of baby oil.
Yeah, definitely baby oil. Everybody's running around sliding off of each other.
Isn't that like illegal in like real boxing if you like grease yourself up too much?
Well, I think they can. I mean, they grease themselves up with Vaseline a lot, so the gloves will slide
especially
off.
for the face and stuff like that. You're cutting.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a restriction on how much you can put on. I mean, I would like to. I would like to see somebody test the limits of that.
I don't
really come out like
in baby oil,
like 2 inches of Vaseline all over them, just like dripping off their face.
They like look like they've been like coated in plastic wrap.
God.
They look like they're like
Saran wrap.
yeah.
He won't be able to land a solid blow. I've gamed the system.
He just does a belly dive on the mat and slides right out the ring. Like, yo. Oh,
Does Mr. T have all the best lines in this movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
There aren't a lot of great lines in this. I mean, Mr. T kind of is the best.
Pain. When he breaks the fourth wall and says pain. That's the best.
There's a camera there in the story.
Yeah.
It works. That's why it works.
The same thing when he did it. I was like, "Holy shit! Is he looking at me?"
He had another. What was the other one-liner he had? He had another one word. I forgot what it was, man.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but
when they're looking face to face, like right before the final fight, Mr. T says, "I'm gonna bust you up," and Rocky just goes, "Go for it."
Yeah,
but it sounds like
that was what was like the worst quote of the movie. I think that is probably.
Yeah.
I think you can make a point that adds to that subtext we were talking about
of him being dumber when he hasn't been hit in a while.
No,
because he could probably come up with something much sharper at the end of the fight.
No, it seemed like more of like a flirt thing.
Oh, go for it! And he gives him a sassy wink. Bust me all up.
Oh my god.
That's bad.
Break this
there's a really bad line in this. Just makes me think of The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if you guys have seen that or what you think of it, but there's a scene at the end when Batman, right before he fights Bane, he like appears and like everyone around them is fighting already. Like the city's gone to chaos. And Bane's like, "Oh, you've come back to save your city." And Batman looks at him, and it's like such a cool opportunity to say, like, "No, I'm here to fuck you up," or like, like whatever. I don't remember what it is, but he says some really bad line. He's like, "No, I came back to save." I don't know. I can't even think of what it is, but
I left my
it's an
wallet
awful line.
on my bedstand.
yeah.
To come back for it. Now I'm stuck here.
I needed change for the bus.
Yeah. Also, I think the as much as I love Carl Weathers in this entire series, and this is the one where honestly he gets the most screen time, but all the Eye of the Tiger shit, and then like, Stallion, it's too bad we got to get old, huh? And it's like, oh, just keep on punching, Apollo. It's just the whole exchange is just so forced, and the fact that he keeps on calling him Stallion, I don't know. I don't.
I think the most difficult part about it is like he's like, "Oh, I'm definitely retired because I'm definitely not like still young enough to do this," but like he looks like he could like win a fight between like all three of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He looks like he might be in the best shape of anyone in this movie.
Like,
yeah.
No. I think that was the whole thing too. Him, that back and forth between Apollo and Mr. T's character is just kind of like, I'm like, yo, Apollo could probably get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Be careful what you wish for,
man. So it's like.
I mean, this is the biggest mystery of the entire Rocky franchise is how Apollo gets beat by Rocky in their rematch, and there's not a third. They don't do a third fight. Like that would never happen in real life.
Yeah.
Especially like, I mean, Apollo's not going to retire. He's probably the better fighter of all these guys. And then I don't remember what we learn in the fourth one, but you got to assume that Clubber Lang, after Rocky retired, went on to get the title back, right? Like
he just ended his career.
Just seems like he's like, what did he just walk away?
Became an actor.
Such a bad beat that he was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be shitty from now on. Because I mean,
he's probably like the only character who in this whole series doesn't come back at all or doesn't get mentioned again, right?
Because he joined the A-Team. That's why.
The robot.
Which, by the way, according to Wikipedia, his name is James Clubber Lang.
I told you.
I hate it. I hate it. I'll beat you like a dog. Dog.
This is my son, Clubber. I named him Clubber.
Clubbert.
Clubber. Clubberto. The robot does not come back.
Don't give this sucker no statue. Give him guts.
Yeah, they're great.
I love all the Mr.
Yeah, he's
lines.
got some good ones. I'm just looking at Wikipedia to see if we didn't mention anything. Is this the lowest rated Rocky movie? Like, is this the one that's considered the worst? Or is that 5?
I thought, well, it's definitely 5. But of the
it's 5.
Of the first 4, I kind of think it's. Yeah, it's probably this one.
Yeah.
You don't like this one better than 2? Because like, I feel like during the review of Rocky 2, you suggested that.
Yes, I know.
Traditionally, you like 2 less than any of the other 3 of the first 4.
That's true. And then I saw this one, and I realized that the only reason I like this is Mr. T. It's like
he does a lot for it, though.
But that's a good reason.
He does a lot for it, you know.
Yeah, no. I mean, that is a good reason. I'm just saying that's one good point, and I guess we might as well get into our reviews if we're.
Yeah, there's a quote here. It says, Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel attributed the film's success to the positive reaction from critics and audiences towards Rocky II and the production team's quality control of that film. Siskel stated, if you want a hugely successful series, then make sure that the second one is a winner. So he's saying that, like, because the second one was so good that, like, that this one is good.
Wow. Well, people are kind of just along for the ride.
I guess so, yeah.
They're just giving the people what they want. They want Rocky to struggle and then triumph. And that is kind of, this is kind of my complaint with this movie is that, like, even Rocky 2 had a little, it felt a little forced sometimes, but it did have a lot of the emotional resonance of, you know, the stakes and the growth of the character. And at this point, it doesn't seem like they're really growing anymore. It just seems like we're going through the same motions again and just swapping out a different new villain, which is great because it's Mr. T, but also it just seemed very predictable. But
I feel like a lot of series, the third one often has some finality to it because the trilogy is sort of a traditional, like, recognized thing.
And this was
like
supposed to be
was
supposed to be the last one when they made it.
And then someone got the idea about the Cold War, and they were like, "Oh, perfect!
Yeah, no,
we have to bring it back."
They had intended this to be a trilogy, and then this was so insanely popular that they were like, "Oh no, you're not allowed to not make more."
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a movie where they're like, "We'll make as many of these as we."
Yeah, because they definitely have found a formula that they're like, "Yeah, we're good with this."
It says here that the film is one of the few which has received the rare A+ grade from audiences surveyed by CinemaScore.
Really?
A+.
An A+?
Really?
I don't know. But then it says Gene Siskel gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4 and wrote, "Sorry to say this, but there's not anything new in Rocky 3, and we sit there wondering why it exists." He added that we see nothing new about Rocky's character except that the tender side of his soul, which made him so appealing, is now virtually missing. Rocky Balboa in Rocky 3 is no longer likable.
Ouch.
Damn.
Yeah, burns.
Real zing.
I mean, I feel like that's why they have Paulie be Paulie, because standing next to him, Rocky's always going to seem like he's somewhat of a likable character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also feel
at
like
least this guy isn't racist.
Yeah, no, really. That's what it was. It's like, you know, oh, man.
I also feel like maybe Siskel was burned by someone who had the eye of the tiger before.
Okay.
Oh, man, it says Mr. T was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst New Star.
Oh. That's insanity, and I refuse to even believe
That's
it.
just because he's misunderstood. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. in hindsight, he's, like, way better.
Yes. And really, even in the moment, people should have known. People should have recognized the talent there. And I pity the fools that didn't.
Right.
I pity them, too. We all pity them.
Yep.
I pity them.
Speaking of pitiful, let's get our scores out there.
Okay. I will go first. So I am, like I said, I think I've already said basically all I have to say about this film in the context of the franchise. I was surprised. This is the one I've seen probably the most, except for Rocky 4 probably. And I was surprised how it really, having just watched the first two, and how the characters and, like, sort of the emotions were such a big part of those, how much I missed that aspect of it. We get a lot more boxing. We get a lot of Mr. T. We get a lot more Carl Weathers. I think those are all the positives. Survivor Song, I don't think it's great. And some of the montages were really good, but all of them were too long. And the biggest moments are sort of, the biggest acting scenes are kind of Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone, I think, really overacting. So blame Stallone, the director, for that one a little bit. So yeah, this felt like a step down. I can't remember what I gave Rocky 2, but I'm giving this one a 6 Timothy Dolphins. The end.
You gave Rocky 2 a 7, and you're giving this what, 6?
Yeah, okay, that feels right.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, Sean, do you want to? We usually give like a little summary of our thoughts and feelings, and then we give it on a score of between 1 and 10. Timothy Dolphins is our rating system.
Okay. I feel like this one started to feel like super formulaic, I guess, with in terms of, like, you know, what Rocky goes through, and, you know, the underdog, and then he overcomes it somehow and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, a lot of performances were really big and over acting for the most part, but it worked for some. Like I said, Mr. T's character is great. And even I liked Apollo like in this personally. I did. But other than that, every time I think about Polly, I'm just like, dude, like, you know what I mean? And I think what it is, and I understand the time and everything like that, but it's like nobody recognized it. They didn't even really react to it at all whatsoever. Yeah. So I was like, okay, it doesn't even exist. But yeah. So for me, can we do like halves, like 6.5 Timothy?
Yes, love.
Yeah, like that.
Love
half,
to give halves.
Yeah.
Yeah, deducted half a point for racism.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like if anybody would have acknowledged it and been like, "Well, this dude's racist," I would have been like, "Okay." But
Yeah.
but aside from the dudes in the gym, the very first time he walks in there, it's just like, yeah, it's non-existent. But it's all good.
All right. So what's your final score?
Yeah, 6.5. Yeah, 6.5.
Great. All right. I think I don't know. I mean, I like this movie. I didn't hate it. I really liked Rocky 1 and 2 a little better though, I think. I agree with everything you guys have said except for what Harris said about the song. I think the song I'm going to go up a point because of the song. I think that's probably one of the better parts of introducing that song to the world. Is a great feat that this movie has accomplished. Yeah, I also like Apollo a lot in this movie. I like Mr. T. He's probably my favorite part. Yeah, I do feel like the character of Rocky has like changed a little. For the worse. He's a little smarter, like we discussed. He's not as like dumb and like heartwarming, charming. Yeah. But I don't know. It's not a bad movie by any means. I just think they kind of changed the formula a bit. I mean, it's entertaining. They got Hulk Hogan in there. I thought that whole fight sequence was great. We didn't talk about that enough. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's got its problems, but I think this movie is a solid. I think it's a solid 7 Timothy Dolphins for me.
Can we talk about that Hulk Hogan fight just for like a little bit? No, because I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, all right. While they're like, he's beating the mess out of him and everything like that. I'm like, all right. So how much of this is meta? Is it like, does Rocky? Like, is it supposed to be rehearsed? Is he taking it too far? You know what I mean? Or is it just or is he just from the jump just going nuts, and then Rocky's reacting to this entire thing? You know what I mean? And at the end of it, it's like a surprise kind of reveal. He's like, oh gosh, you were taking it seriously, and I wasn't until it turned that way. Like, I was trying to figure out what were they trying to convey. You know what I mean? In terms of like the exchange between the
beats
two.
of
it.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that in this time period, wrestling was still purporting to be
real,
100% real.
Okay.
So I think that was like they were trying to skirt this fine line between, obviously this is fake, but it's not obvious because we're pretending it. Like, it wasn't until like just a decade ago, or maybe even a little more than that they finally kind of admitted it's kind of theatrics and show. And up until then, it was like no matter how fake it looked, they would insist forever that all wrestling is totally 100% real. And so I think this is trying to, like, in the world of the movie, this is a real wrestling match where he's actually in danger and has to fight this guy. But then they have him, like, at the end of it sort of break character and be like a nice guy.
Right, yeah.
So I think they're trying to have their cake and eat it too a little bit.
Because I feel like Rocky in the middle of that kind of had this revelation, like at least at the end of it, it was like, it felt like he didn't expect it to go that hard. You know what I mean? Was that because it was a charity event, or did he not believe in wrestling all the way? You know what I mean? It's like, so that's why. But in the context of, I guess, of the time period, didn't make sense that everybody believed it to be real. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it was almost like playing off that idea that some people think it's fake and some people think it's real, because he gets in the ring and he's like, you chase me around, right, I'll chase you around, and then the guy's like goes crazy. But I think it's sort of like trying to like ride that fine line between admitting that it's staged and then kind of. Did any of you guys watch wrestling? Colin, this seems like a real you thing.
So like when I was very, very young, I got really into it, and then when I was told that it was fake, I had
You cried and you screamed, "It's real
meltdown.
to me." We all
cried.
saw the clip.
Yeah,
It was a meltdown.
I did. And then so like for a long time after that, I didn't, really like it as much. But then, early adolescence and stuff, like late elementary school, junior high and stuff, a lot of friends got really back into it. So I I always had like a little bit of an interest. So I would just always go back and forth kind of like it's fake and stupid to like, oh, like, a lot of people like it for these reasons. And it's like, kind of fun sometimes. I did have one friend that I was close with growing up who like, was really into it for a long time. So like I got a lot of the information from that,
I kind of feel like it's not too late for you, like with the right personal trainer and a certain amount of steroids. I think we could get you in the ring.
The big question,
Colin, we can make you a star.
Steroids. Yeah,
You got the look.
honestly, yeah. Like I'm very close to what they need, like without having the steroids, and the steroids would get me like, that would get me at least an audition, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Steroids aren't really. I've heard that they're not totally good for you health-wise.
Here's the thing, though. Here's what you're saying and what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is I lack commitment. I don't want to succeed in life. I don't have the eye of the tiger. And that's fine. That's fine. I just want you to understand that that's how it's coming across.
Oh, I have also heard that like it's not always easy to get steroids because of the legality of it. But,
I think that's
I know a guy, man. I got you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like
got
you
you.
live in LA. You could always just go to a gym.
I think HGH is like the new way, right? Isn't that like
that's like more dangerous.
I think that's less dangerous but more expensive.
Okay.
We'll get you on we'll get you on a nice anabolic cycle. It'll be great. You're gonna bulk up. You won't even believe it.
Speaking of that, I just recently heard that Bonds was not. He lost his eligibility for the Hall of Fame because like they still haven't let him in, and like he doesn't get nominated anymore because it's been too long.
Yeah, and Roger Clemens too. Although they can get voted in by the Veterans Committee, they just can't get voted in by the normal Hall of Fame committee anymore.
Yeah, but Bonds, it's because of the allegations that
it's because they weren't famous enough, Colin. That's what the Hall of Fame is all
you
about.
think Barry Bonds is not famous?
I'm not sure you're even pronouncing it right. Barry Blondes? Is that it? I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about actually.
Okay. Billy Blanks. That's what I said.
Billy Blanks. I think Billy Blanks should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't care how much steroids he did.
Colin, give us your rating.
All right, so I'm going to rate this a 7 Timothy Dolphins. I think that I mostly agree with what everyone else is saying. Yeah, it should. I would do 6. I'm not going to do a half point, but I totally feel that half point off for Paulie's racism. That was. I totally agree. Like, why doesn't another character say something? About this. Like, they don't have to confront him even. They just need to like acknowledge that it's happening. Maybe.
Yeah, Rocky doesn't say anything to Paulie either. He says something to Apollo. He's like, "Oh, you get used to him."
Yeah, I was like, nobody
Oh,
reacts.
don't worry, you'll be less insulted once you hear it every day for a month.
No, he says for years.
Yeah,
It's like what?
It's like the jungle music. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
But also, Paulie and Duke are hugging at the end when the fight. So like, apparently they do forgive him or at least put up with him.
Yeah, I guess that was
Which
all
I don't think
off
makes
screen.
it better.
There's a lot of working through issues off screen. Yeah, and also the Survivor song is fucking excellent. Like, you don't have to hear it from me. There's plenty of people out there who know that song is a great song. And what else is there to say? 7 Timothy Dolphins. It's less than 8. It's more than 6.
That's 6.5. It's
perfect.
Yeah, 6.5 would. I mean, I'm not going to do half points because it. Like, I encourage the guests to do it, but like,
what's a half dolphin? Like, really?
What's a half dolphin?
Well, it kind of depends on which half too, because I think the head half is
exactly.
more valuable. Although the tail half would probably be more mobile. So, or
more
split
delicious.
it right down the middle.
Right.
That could be.
yeah, I think you're supposed to say like dorsal and something else. Like you.
Yeah, there's
I don't
probably
think you
correct
use
dolphin terminology.
Yeah, but
I think
you're not using the nautical terms. I think it's port and starboard as well.
Yeah, the hardest part about splitting them like vertically like this is that fin that top fin is a little too thin, so it's hard to get a good where you get equal.
It's a thin
portions
fin.
Of each. Yeah, it's tough to get equal portions of each fin on each half of the dolphin.
Yeah, that's the challenge that we've.
Yep.
This
is why I don't go half dolphins, just because of that challenge.
Sean Addo, thank you for being our guest. Is there anything? This is February 28th. Is there anything you have coming out or working on that you'd like to plug, or perhaps where people could find you on social media?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can find me on my Instagram handle is Doppa Chief, DOPPACHIEF. And basically that's where all my projects are and everything. And like I said, we have a cool short kind of proof of concept that's gonna be hitting festivals soon. It's called Rooted, so look out for that. So that should be kind of fun. But yeah, that's it. Everything else is just in development, man. So
nice. Yeah. Well, good luck with everything at the Sundance Lab and everything else you're working on. And thanks again. Hopefully we can have you back one day for Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts? Anything else we forgot to mention?
No.
What's your prediction for when this comes out?
What's my prediction? Lame.
Oh, zing.
Nice.
All right. Let's go out singing, of course, the only song in the world that matters.
You're the best around. Nothing ever gonna keep you down. You're the best.
Yeah.
All
right.
It's the eye of the tiger.
It's the
Thrill
something.
of the fight. Thrill of the fight.
Okay.
Standing up to the challenge of our rivals.
You're the last known survivor. Yeah, the something.
really struggling.
I don't know.
I'm about to put
something.
Eye
of the tiger.
Nailed it.
As always, thank you for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you like listening to us talk about your favorite movies. Thank you to our guest, Sean Addo, and as always, thank you to Chris Morocco for banging out the Rocky remix for this series. We have a Patreon that you can check out and subscribe to for just $1 a month over at www.patreon.com/L2W. That's www.patreon.com/L2W. The letter L, the number 2, the letter W. Help support the podcast by joining. You get instant access to over 45 bonus shows that feature us covering non-franchise classics such as Stallone's Cliffhanger, Loaded Weapon 1, Showgirls, and so much more every single month. Again, that website to join is www.patreon.com/L2W. This show is a part of the Fandom Limb Podcast Network, so please be sure to check out some of their other awesome shows, and be sure to tune in next time for Rocky 4.